Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, what's up? Doing another Android Weekly today and Q&A. If you are new to the show, we answer questions at the end of the show, do mobile news in the beginning, and then answer questions that were asked during the week in the middle of the show. So if you have a question and you're watching this during the week, just make sure to ask your question at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com right down below, and make sure your subject line is question. Other than that, let's start off with the news. So the first bit of news today was, of course, that Verizon's supposedly going to have an exclusive on the all-new HTC One for what looks like 2 weeks, which is kind of insane. Verizon definitely, missed out on the first one. So I'm kind of interested. They were like the last ones to get it because they had the Droid DNA. So will this be a huge difference? I'm interested to see, and interested to see that they got the exclusive. In the U.S., mainly the person that gets all the exclusives is AT&T. So it's interesting to see that Verizon got this one. Although, well, Verizon got the exclusive gold on the Note 3, so I teach their own. But yeah, supposedly, if this is true, that this is going to be launching same day. So for those of you who don't know, I will be going over everything on the 25th. March 25th is the day the HTC One's announced. But supposedly, it's supposed to be ready to hit as soon as 1 p.m. Eastern, which would be what 10 p.m. or sorry 10 a.m. Pacific. So if that's true, is it going to be as soon as the stores open? They will have this phone. I'm definitely curious. The next bit of information comes from, of course, the big news of the week's Android Wearable. So Android Wearable is the OS with which these new watches that Google has developed for are going to be running. So it's pretty impressive, and it's supposed to be seen from pretty much every big name company. So it's supposed to get the attention of everyone from LG, HTC, Motorola, even Samsung, which was curious to see Samsung there, and Asus. And while all the other companies, are supposed to, of course, show off their chipsets for it. So this is really interesting to see, and the two main watches coming out of this is definitely the first one is the Motorola 360, which is just beautiful, just plain beautiful. It looks amazing, and I cannot wait to get this device. I'm really just in awe of it. I mean, it looks so damn good. That yeah, I will definitely be getting this device. There's not even a question about that. Um, but I really am curious to see how much better will it be compared to my gear that I'm wearing right now. I do love Google Now more than S Voice, so for voice commands I feel that it will be better. But I'm really curious to see how it'll do. By the way, I do believe the Motorola person that was interviewed earlier this week said that they wouldn't be revealing what it's charged, how it's going to be charged, even though we know it doesn't have a micro USB. So my bet is on wireless charging. That's what I bet it'll be on. For LG, LG's G Watch will be launching next quarter. So Motorola 360 will be launching in the summer, they've confirmed. And LG's G Watch, we don't know when exactly they'll be launching, but next quarter starts April, guys. So it could be April, May, or June. So I'm really curious to see this one come out. Now, this one doesn't look like it brings much to the table, to be honest. It looks kind of like the Sony smartwatch, the first one, not the two, because the two looked a little bit better than this. But it looks like the first Sony smartwatch, not the Live View either, because Sony's had 3 smartwatches, but only numbered 2 of them. So yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see another. But this was kind of like, oh yeah, LG's coming out with one too. Let's talk about the Motorola 360 because that's the real big one. I'm curious. HTC is supposed to come out with theirs before the end of the year, and then I don't know if Asus will come out with one or who else is coming out with these new wearables. And finally, we have the Oppo 7 that some of my viewers asked me about last week. So this is the Oppo 7. Now here's the thing. The Oppo Find 7 is really more geared towards, Asian countries. It's not really big in the US, but it is big in Asian countries. So, and for good reason, mind you, because the specs and features this device has is very impressive. So, just to give you a quick rundown of some of the specs, it is the same processor as the same exact processor as the new Galaxy S5. It's the only one that's the same exact one because the HTC One and the Sony have the 2.3 version. This one has the 2.5 version. And it has the same graphics card, but it actually has more RAM, so it has 3 gigs of RAM in comparison. And it does have 32 gigs of storage, and this is the going to be the second device that's going to be 128 gigabyte micro SD card. Well, sorry. Well, I would say big device. The S5 was the first big device to have it, and this would be the second big device to have it. The big thing about this device, though, it's the first, or one of the first, rather, Qual HD screen, so impressive screen. The only thing I wonder is that battery. I mean, I understand that it has a 3,000 milliamp battery, and that it can charge to 75% in supposedly an hour, and that's very impressive, very, very impressive. Although, to be fair, I mean, my Note 3 with USB 3.0 charges in about, I would say, maybe like an hour and a half to full charge. So I guess that's not too much of a stretch. But they did it with a regular micro USB, which is more impressive, and I guess it's because of this new technology they had. So really, really interesting. And the main thing is that it has 13 megapixel rear camera, and it's going to have a 5 megapixel front camera. It's the first one with a 5 megapixel front camera. And both have a f2.0, which is a very impressive feat. So it has a lot of hardware-wise. This really is second to none. I'm not a fan of the OS the way it looks, to be honest. But of course, it could always be changed up and everything like that. But I'm just not a fan of how it looks. But I would just probably slap Nova on there and call it a day. One of the main things is that it can also do a 50 megapixel photo by putting a bunch of 13 megapixel images together, and makes it look really interesting. By the way, I find this funny that it's the same, the person that designed this website is the same person that designed the S5 website, so I found that funny. Also, in other news, we have the LG G3. First pictures of it, and what is going on, LG? Is this really like, did they move their side button? I mean, this is just really funny looking. I really feel like LG is just kind of experimenting at this point, if this is a real thing. But it does have one front speaker, which is, I mean, I don't need two front speakers, to be honest. As long as it has one, it's fine. And that's, I mean, if this is a design, I'm just kind of like, it looks like they're trying to copy everyone else and put it into one, is what it looks like. But we'll see. This is obviously, a leaked image, so it could be, it could not be. But it's supposed to be the second device with the same kind of screen resolution that the Oppo 7 had. Again, the thing that I worry about with this kind of screen is battery life. But since this is a 5.5-inch screen, then it should be closer to actually being. But at the same time, it's like if it's a 5.5-inch, I think they're going to. I mean, this is Note size now. So I think that they're really just pushing the bounds too much of a flagship device being that kind of size. I believe a flagship device should stay closer to 5-inch, as the S5 did, and even as their G2 did. 5.2 is fine, but when you're going 5.5, I think it's just you're starting to get too big for a flagship device that you want to sell millions and millions and millions of. Apple also has this leak of their new fitness, and this one's really interesting because not only does it have things like, say like the S5 has with heart rate, with nutrition, with activity, but it has things from a lot of blood work, blood sugar, blood pressure, to sleep pattern we've seen before, but respiratory rate. It seems like this is really geared towards being Ant Plus, which the S5 is. And so I really, but the thing is, I don't believe the iPhone 5S is. So maybe the iPhone 6 will be this, but then all these accessories will probably be an add-on to the iPhone 5S and 5C if they're still out. So yeah. In other Apple news, we do have, unfortunately, some really, really poor sales in China Mobile compared to what they were expected to do. They only sold 1.3 million since they started in mid-January. So, and this was done on what day? March 20th. So, in about roughly 3 months, they only sold 1.3, which they're expected to sell anywhere from 15 to 16 million in China this year. That's a pretty slow start. I mean, they should be selling roughly a little over a million per month, even if it's 1 million per month, and in the last quarter, you blow it out. But that's a very slow start to what everyone expected it to be. Funny enough, the iPhone 5 is the top-selling device by far over there compared to everything else, so that's kind of interesting as well. But yeah, so that was the news for the week. If Let me know what you guys think about it, and then we will be moving on towards the next portion, which is the questions asked during the week. If you ever have a question for me, the Android guy, during the week, feel free to ask, and I will answer it live on the show every Sunday at 8 p.m. So if you ever have questions, feel free. I'm trying to get through the news section quicker. So definitely just to answer more questions more so. And if you have a question during the week, make sure to email to asktheandroidguy@gmail.com and make sure your subject line is question. Sorry, hold on. I have a little Google, segment there. All right, so the first one is Alexander Renee. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I don't want to mispronounce it. Alexander Renee F. Ask, what is your daily driver? What are your thoughts on the S5 compared to other phones? So here's my thing. My daily driver right now is the Galaxy Note 3. It is my daily driver phone, and as you can see, I even made it look kind of like the S5 in the way it looks and style. However, my biggest thing is I am not a fan of the interface in terms of like movement wise of TouchWiz. So I do replace it with Nova, but I love the drop down menu and the menu layout of TouchWiz. I do love that part of it, just on like My Magazine and stuff like that. But that's my daily driver right now, and I couldn't be happier with the Note 3. I mean, it has an amazing battery life. I never have had the battery run out on me in a day, which is something that I've grown to appreciate since this was my first Note series as a daily driver, whereas before I've always, I played around with notes and things like that, but it was like my daily driver. It was like a work phone as the Note 2 was, and other things like that. I played around with my friends' Note 1 all the time, but the Note 3 was my first like daily driver Note. So I really enjoyed that more so, and I really had a lot of fun with the Note. I mean, it just all day battery life, and it kind of encompasses the best of everything for me. There is no phone of 2013 that I felt compared to the Note 3. Period. Because the Note 3, if you took away the one problem people had with it, which was the screen size, there's nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it. And that you cannot say about any other device. There's no complaint about it. Battery life, camera, speed, storage, screen quality. There's nothing wrong with the phone. Where any other phone, you could take it apart. You could take it apart in any other phone on any of the other devices. I feel like, I was never impressed with which so many texts were about the HTC One last year. I was never impressed by it because battery and camera are my two main things I need for a daily driver, and the HTC One didn't fulfill that. I'm sorry. It just didn't fulfill that. What do I think about the S5, though? I am interested. I think Samsung, despite what a lot of critics and so-called analysts think, I do believe it's going to be the biggest selling S series of them all. One reason because the S3 was the first hugely popular Samsung phone, and everyone who had that is due for an upgrade. So that's one thing. Or is getting tired of the phone. If they bought it outright, they're getting tired of it, and they're probably going to upgrade to the S5. But what I tell people, like, why would I get an S5 instead of an S4? Well, that's easy. Water resistance, amazing ultra power saving mode, which just it's the best thing ever. Your battery lasts so much longer. If you didn't charge your phone at night and you go out, guess what? You have a phone for the rest of the night, and that is just amazing. So that and camera is unparalleled to me. I don't see the features that this device has takes me back to my SLR days. And it's really like I cannot wait to play with it. I cannot wait to have it, and I'm getting sent a review unit, so I will be reviewing that entirely. And I'm definitely, and this is when, for those of you guys know me, know that I get review units for this company, and yet I don't get review units from HTC, LG, and these other companies. I'm like, these PR people, like, sorry, I'm just going on a little bit of a rant. These PR people, this company is the top-selling company right now in Android by far. They're sending me their phone. They're getting lots of views, and they're getting lots of traction and all that. You guys are sending it to, don't get me wrong, all the big-name companies like Engadget and all those kind of companies and all that kind of stuff. But yet, once people own it, they don't know what to do with it, and that's what my channel is geared towards. And you don't send me a phone when I ask. Just saying, there's a reason why one's higher. Just putting it out there. Sorry, I had to do a little rant on that. Just get frustrated with that. Trying to get more devices because I want to get more devices for you guys, but shelling out like $1,000 to $1,600 on two phones to compare them is a lot of money, and I'm not making that much from the channel to do that. At least not at this point. Hopefully later on down the line. But for the S5 and how it compares to other phones, really, with the exception of the all-new HTC One, because we don't know what that one, and with the exception of the Oppo in 7, because in the U.S. again it's not going to be popular at all. In the U.S. there will be maybe literally 1,000 to 5,000, maybe 10, so maybe 1,000 to 20,000 even say people that might have the Oppo 7 in the U.S. total and total. Whereas the S5 is millions and millions and millions and millions. I do believe the S5 will be the top-selling phone of the year, just like the S4 was. For those of you guys that didn't know, the S4 did outsell the 5S last year in 2013. So it's really interesting I do believe the S5 will be the top-selling phone of the year again. But the really curious part is how close it's going to be. That's what I'm curious about. Because Apple, of course, is Samsung's big competition. But will HTC or LG sell this year? Because I'm sorry, the G2 was a failure. It's a great phone, and as I said in my interview with CNET, I said it's one of the best phones out there that no one cares about. And it was true. They sold 3 million. They want to sell 10 by the end of the year, and they only sold 3. That was a failure. And that was in since September, so that was about 4 or 5. No, I think it was August when the G2 came out, so it was 5 months at least. That was 5 months that they couldn't do it, whereas the Note 3, for instance, which isn't a flagship device, it's Samsung's secondary phone, sold 5 million in 1 month. So there's a huge difference between those companies. And when it comes to that, it is marketing. A lot of people always ask me, well, what is it that makes Samsung so different? One's marketing. But another thing is definitely one thing that most people don't realize, and that's mass production. There is no one that competes with Samsung on mass production. No one can crank out as many devices as Samsung can. No one. That's why you never see Samsung with shortages, really. This S5 is the first one that supposedly might have shortages because of the fingerprint scanner. And that's why they try to make it all in-house, from what I hear. There were so many, articles saying oh, the fingerprint scanner might cause a second thing, and then actually I remember one article said that, and then Samsung replied back to that. I think it was Phone Arena. They're like, no, there's no problem, there's no shortage. So I'm really curious to see how we'll compete. I'm curious to see how these phones will compare But that's one of the two, besides marketing, it really has to do with that. But it's just getting the main things right. You need battery and camera. Once you have those really well done, then you concentrate on everything else. And I think Samsung, from S2 to S3 to S4 to S5, each of them had a better battery life and a better camera. And that's why I wanted the next one each time, because I want to keep getting a better camera and better battery life. Those are my two main concerns. And when anyone asks me, oh, well, I'm a basic user, I don't use that much, those are the two things that I usually talk about, because cameras, most everyone will use them, even if it's a person that doesn't use a cell phone for anything but calls and text messages. Guess what? They're going to use their camera. And the second thing is battery life. If you don't use your cell phone that often and you see your battery life is low in the middle of the day, you're like, wait, what? What's going on? You expect there to be good battery life. So those are the two things that I always talk about. And when it's comparing to the HTC and LG, if they step up those two things, I definitely think they could have better contenders this year. But yeah, I don't like HTC's marketing either so far. But we'll see what they can do. I'm really curious to see if they're going to do anything with Robert Downey Jr. for once. All right, so let me see if I can pull this up. So Deborah Neal asked about a pop-up that she got, and it seems like that pop-up actually is only on when she's going with her device on Smosh.com, which is another YouTuber's place. But so she's getting this pop-up, right? And it's like, clean your Android for free now with Clean Master. And let's see. And then there's this one. Your Android has been infected with a virus. Tap OK, remove now. So she asked me essentially, I know you said I watched your phone about viruses on Android, but so I shouldn't be concerned? No. First of all, never click that. Never click that. Here's a little thing about viruses. They don't warn you, and that's what all that is. This is malware that is essentially like trying to do a pop-up, and it's just. It looks like you're using like the Samsung browser. I would use Chrome, and you probably won't have that issue, to be honest, of that pop-up. So I would just use Chrome instead of the browser you're using. But that's all that is. No, so yeah, you don't click it. Just click away, and it goes away. It's just a pop-up trying to infect you. So if you click it, then yes, it will infect you, because that site is just I don't know what. They're just doing a horrible job of protecting you. But yeah, I really wouldn't recommend going to that sign-in channel. But I'm assuming obviously you're watching it for the videos and everything like that. So just try using another browser like Chrome, and you should be fine. But yeah, no, do not click it. Viruses do not warn you. Anytime you see that kind of thing, it's not a virus warning you. It's a virus, telling you that kind of stuff. So yeah. All right. I read your blogs on the Note 3. Oh yeah. So Alex Rude asked, I read blogs on the Note 3, and it will not have tap to pay functionality, even after the KitKat update. I wonder why that is. So I'm not sure where you're getting this from, actually, because I've used this with ISIS, which is an NFC pay to tap to pay function. I've used it. It worked fine. So I'm not sure where you're getting this. I'm not sure what Android blogs were saying this, because I've used ISIS, which is that kind. I have not used Google Wallet with this, but I've used this. I have the Verizon version, but was it in international? Maybe the Exynos version that's maybe not functioning with it. But as far as the Qualcomm version, I've never heard of anything like that in the U.S. I'm not sure if that's the same, but yeah, I've used it already with that function and have had no problems. So it should be fine. So yes. And Sherry McIntosh Sherry asks, when you receive pictures through text message, I get a download option. It won't download. I am unable to see the picture. Is there an okay me thing like I need to do to see the picture? Yes. So if you ever get a text message and it's showing you to click download, but it's not downloading, it's probably because of one thing. You need data in order to receive multimedia messages. So for multimedia text messages, you need data to receive them. Here's the thing. On iPhones, Apple just turns it on automatically and then turns it back off. So you don't even notice it, which is bad in a way because it can get your data, but at the same time, most people like it because then they don't have to do it manually. With Android, unfortunately, it does not do it manually. If you do not have your data on, it will not turn your data on in order to receive the message. So you do have to make sure that at the top here, you have data. Once you have data, it will go through. And then you can click download, and then it'll go through. Now, say if you don't have really strong data, in my house, I have horrible, horrible data. I have at best 3G. At best 3G. So if I in my house, I hate multimedia text messages. I hate them because they'll take forever to download. But everyone knows to message me on Hangouts. I don't even like text messaging. So with that you essentially have to get in a range where you have like at least 3G so that your whatever the photo that was sent will download. Now, if you're getting really weak signal in an area, a little quick trick is just to hold down the power button and turn it on airplane mode. Leave that on for about a minute, and then turn it. Do the same thing again, rinse and repeat. Hold it down again, turn on airplane mode, and there you go. Once you have done that, that will allow you to officially move it out of and get the it'll allow you to get better signal, which will allow you to get the text message. All right, I'm going to be answering the last question now, and if you have questions for me that you want to ask live, please ask in the comment section down below, and I will get to your questions right after this. So ask any question you want to ask me about. I already see one in the comment section. Ask any questions you want, and I will definitely see any and answer all questions. All right, Derek at ask, hi Ricky, thanks, seen all your videos, and I fine-tuned my Galaxy Tabs because of them. I was playing Dogfight, which is an EcoBoom, by EcoBoom. Saw your video on how to connect a PS3 controller, and was wondering why it wasn't working on this game. I've had no success for it. Am I overlooking something? So I'm going to look up this game really quickly. Dogfight. So this does seem like a pretty popular game. So here's the thing. If the developer for this game has not inputted for controls, you can't make it work. The only way that the PS3 controller works is that developers map out their games to work with any controller. So they allow input for controllers, and this is a very basic thing that any developer can do for Android. So I would expect them to do it, and this is in the realm of 1 million to 5 million installations. So I would expect it to be working for it. But now, not to say this one would do it, but I just saw a similar game called Sky Gambler's Rise of Glory, and this is a Namco game. I could imagine Namco would put in control functionality. So maybe try that one, or try, you know what? Yeah. So see, the Namco one has Moga controller support, which almost is guaranteed that this one will work with the PS3 controller. So it's on the developer for it. So I would try just so you can see it. So I would try this one. Sky Gamblers. It's by Namco. And you know, usually when it's a big company like Namco Bandai or any of these companies, you will get that kind of function and support out of it. So I recommend going with that one for a PS3 controller experience, which will of course make it much, much better. All right, now to answer questions in the comment section down below. Would the megapixels remain the same on the all-new HTC One? I love the Motorola 360. I love it too, Toby. Toby, would the megapixels remain the same on the HTC One? Well, we've gotten two. We've gotten two different things on that. So HTC One is either going to have two ultra pixels on it, so unnamed, undisclosed ultra pixels for right now. So two ultra pixels, because we know they're going to have two cameras on the back. They're going to have two cameras on the back. So it's going to have two ultra pixels on the back and a 5 megapixel on the front. Or it's going to supposedly have a 16 megapixel camera and a 4 ultra pixel on the rear and a 5 megapixel on the front. Guess which one I'm hoping for? Yeah. I believe this will make or break HTC One, to be honest. Because if they come with 2 ultra pixels, it's done. It died before it began. And that's because no matter what, even though the tech community, look, the tech community, all of the other reviewers in the tech world loved the HTC One. It just won the award for best phone at MWC for 2013. Great job, but it's kind of like this. It's kind of like the Academy Awards versus the blockbusters in movies. The HTC One won the Academy Award, and it won the prestige, and it won all of this great stuff by all the people in the industry, right? But Avengers made money. So that's what it kind of is like. It really is, and it's that dramatic of a difference because the HTC One lost money for HTC. It didn't, they were in the red all year. They were in the only time they got in the green was at launch. I think they got black, so they didn't make a profit per se, or they might have made a profit, but it was tiny. It was like they kind of barely made it. Then the third quarter they got back in the red, really in the red, and then they were in the red for Q4 of 2013. But the only reason they were factored out to be profitable because they sold all their shares for Beats, and so they gained all the money from Beats, and that kept them afloat. But HTC cannot afford another HTC One year where they got the prestige, but they didn't get any box office. And that's what, if they come out with ultra pixels again and nothing but ultra pixels, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. It's not going to sell. You will not have a blockbuster. And that's, look, say what you will about Samsung, and there's lots of Samsung haters out there, but they're the top selling. I mean, Samsung outsold as a company. They had more smartphones sell than Apple, LG, and HTC combined. That's saying something. So they really are that ahead of everyone, and it's because they try to go for nothing but the blockbusters. They go for blockbusters, and they'll make a couple small. They're like Disney right now. Samsung is like Disney right now. They're making the blockbusters. They got their Marvel movies. They got their Disney movie. They got all. They'll make some specialty movies. For like Earth Day and stuff like that. But I'm just going really on this analogy now. But yeah, so that's really what the difference is. At the end of the day, when people ask me, this is just the HTC needs to, if they get that 16 megapixel and 5 megapixel front camera, they got a blockbuster. I think that will sell amazing, and I think it'll do very well if it has that. So I would be very excited if it has that. What's up, Android heads? Eve Hill 1. Vic Monto, this is not available on mobile. Why can't I watch this video on mobile device? I'm not sure. I made it available for mobile. Yes, I made it available for mobile. I'm not sure why you can't see it. Not sure, but I definitely made it available for mobile. Waiting to see if there's any other questions. HTC One though will be announced 23rd, so Tuesday. It will be announced, and of course I will do a reaction video, and then I will do everything you need to know video about it. And although with the HTC One, what don't we know already? Well, I mean, I guess the camera is the only thing, but I hope it's the one thing, because man, they need this. If it really is a 16 megapixel rear camera with a 4 ultra pixel to make the lighting better, low light better, awesome. And a 5 megapixel front camera, that has my attention. That I will buy that. Plain and simple, I will buy that. Just because I would want to play with that. So I'm very interested to see if that HTC One will blow me away. If it's an ultra pixel, the only reason I'll buy that is for the channel. I'm sorry that the aluminum front face speakers, I love front face speakers, but I need them in my tablet. I need them in my tablet more than my phone. At the end of the day, I listen to Bluetooth headphones. I listen, I don't like, if I'm eating, say I'm eating lunch, and I go to some restaurant or something like that, and I'm eating lunch there. I don't want my speakers playing to me. I'll put in my Bluetooth headset, and I'll be listening to, say, and catching up on some YouTube videos or something like that. But I'm not going to be listening to my front-face speakers. They're amazing. They're the best in their class. And the front speakers have no competition in the industry. Even Sony's didn't compare too much to it on the Z2. But yeah, I really need a great camera and great battery life from HTC, and I will be sold. That's all I need. That's what I need, HTC. That and make a watch like the Moto 360, and I will be an HTC fan for sure. All right, guys. Well, it looks like those were all the questions we had today. Kind of trying to wait around to see if there's any more, but it looks like that's it. So we'll call that a show. If you guys have any questions for me and you're watching this during the week, just ask at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com. Glad to see so many people here this time, and we were getting a lot of questions asked. So hopefully tune in next week, and I will answer more questions. All right, thank you for watching. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.